One late night, a woman named Robin laid asleep with her husband Steve in their Brooklyn home. After an evening at a local wine bar, the couple headed home and went to bed. Their 2 young children were asleep in bedrooms down the hall. In the early morning hours, her phone buzzes across the bedside table. Robin opens her eyes and looks at the caller's ID. It's her mother-in-law, Mona, who never calls past midnight. Maybe it's a pocket dial. So she rolls over and tries to go back to sleep. Then the phone rings again. She picks up the phone and, on the other end, she hears Mona's voice wailing, repeating, "I can't do it, I can't do it." Mona and her husband Bob are in their 70s. She's a retired party planner and he's a dentist. Robin's first thought, an accident? A confusing and panicked exchange on the phone ensues and Robin wakes her husband. What happens next, they couldn't have predicted. Picking up the phone, Steve is confronted by a calm yet threatening voice, warning against involving the authorities and demanding money in exchange for his mother's safety. Steve, a law enforcement officer, quickly grasps the gravity of the situation. Discreetly, he uses his phone to call a colleague who is experienced in hostage negotiation. Following his colleague's advice to stall, Steve engages the caller, attempting to glean information and buy time. The demand, a $500 Venmo transaction, seemed absurdly low, so Steve complies. After several failed attempts, Steve successfully transfers the money, symbolised by a pizza emoji, as instructed. Subsequently, the caller demands another $250. As Steve reluctantly sends the second sum, the caller hangs up. After 25 minutes of panic and failed calls, the couple managed to reach Steve's parents. "Are you at home? Are you okay?" they ask. What takes the couple so long to answer? The whole time, they've been at home, in bed, asleep. Artificial intelligence seems to be revolutionising almost every aspect of our lives, from medical diagnosis and image generation to the mundane tasks like drafting emails and finishing off their latest budgetary report. But with increased accessibility and availability, so too has come increased trouble. Deepfake content is peripheral across the internet. In the months after Russia invaded Ukraine, a video surfaced on social media in which Ukraine's president, Vladimir Zelensky, appeared to tell his troops to surrender. He had not done so.
And now, I decide to say goodbye to you. I advise you to lay down your arms and return to your families. You should not die in this war. I advise you to live.
In February of this year, police in Hong Kong announced that a finance worker had been tricked into paying out $25 million
after taking part in a video conference with who he thought were members of his firm's senior staff. They were not. Steve and Robin were simply victims of the latest AI scam, which saw an AI replicating their loved ones' voices.
On today's podcast, I am absolutely delighted to invite Jake Moore, who has far more understanding on this topic than me, but also used AI in exactly the same way, and maybe could shine a bit of light on today's story. So Jake, thank you so much for coming.
Hello, Kelly. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Yes, this is an amazing story, and you hit the nail on the head. AI is in our lives everywhere now, and it's only going to get bigger and better. But of course, with the good comes the bad. And with this latest story about potentially someone being defrauded out of $25 million, that really struck a chord with me. And I love delving into crime. I've always been fascinated with crime. I absolutely love bank robbery and always wanted to be a bank robber. But now I'm looking at the latest technology that's being used, of course, which is AI, into the latest crimes. And I'm fascinated by it. And what I like to do is reenact them and simulate them and see how good they really are and test people's security. And then at the ultimate goal, throw back some awareness, and it really hits them in the stomach if they've fallen for some of my scams.
Before we get into a scam and why the reason we actually connected, or you can say this on the podcast, I slid into your DMs to ask you to be on here. Could we know a little bit more about Jake? What's Jake's background? What did Jake want to be when he was a little boy? Like, what did he think he'd be sat here on a podcast talking about AI and cybercrime?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So it goes back over 20 years ago. My mum said while I was at university, what do you want to do when you finish?
Right.
And I said, I have no idea. And she genuinely said to me, well, you've got to do something that you love. And I said, I have no idea what I love doing apart from bank robberies. And she said, well, you can't be a bank robber. How about then? And she looked at me and she said, why don't you go and join the police? Why don't you go and join the robbery squad? And I thought, that's not actually a bad idea. And she said, you can learn about robberies, you can learn about crime, but you won't get arrested. I don't want to be coming to see you in prison. I thought, you know what, Mum, that's not actually a bad shout at all. And so I went to my local police force in Dorset and I joined straight out of university. And I was there for 14 years. A couple of years into me being in the police force, I joined the high-tech crime unit, which turned its name into the digital forensics unit. And I ran that unit for a few years as well. And at the end of that time there, this little old unit called the cybercrime team developed. And one of the chiefs was saying to me, I think this cybercrime thing might just take off.
It might be a thing.
Yeah, and I was really excited because, in fact, the only reason why I joined the high-tech crime unit was because when they were looking around for anyone to be a part of that team then, this was, the mid-noughties, was only looking at me because I was interested in computing. I hadn't done a computing degree. I did maths at university, but I had one computer module in that degree. And he said to me, well, that is one computer module more than anyone else we've got. Well, you join the other guy that has got a computer. It was pretty much like
He's
that.
got a computer.
Yeah. And so, we started this unit. But in the cybercrime team, I had a lot of fun and I learned so much. That's the one thing the police can do. They can't pay well, but they can give you unlimited supply of courses. So I would go on all these forensic courses. I'd go on hacking courses, ethical hacking, you name it. I was given these amazing courses and I just lapped it up. I loved it. And I realized this is the coolest part of crime. And when I heard the stat, which is still the same now, that over 50% of crime is cybercrime and fraud, I thought, you know what? This area is not going anywhere.
No. And your fascination, is it a little bit of the psychology behind why people do it? Is that why you like bank robbery, or
it's everything? The romance side of crime itself. There's this passion for the. When we watch a movie, let's face it, we all have a little part of us that wants the bad guy to get away with it. If you look at one of my favourite films, Catch Me If You Can,
great film.
Everyone wants Leonardo DiCaprio to get away with it. The fact that what's his name, Jordan, is actually in the movie at the end holding that pen. We love him for it. Yeah. And I think that love and passion for the bad guy in a what looks like a victimless crime, and I agree that it's not, but it feels like it. It's something romanticized about it. Of course, I never would go and commit any crime, but I'm so into the psychology, the reasons behind it, the scams that are used, the manipulation, the language. I've studied phishing emails for years. I love learning how they target their victims. There's so much there that actually, if you look back in time over crime, hasn't changed that much. In the art of manipulation, if you look back at the classic con of the cup game, you've got the 3 cups, follow the ball, and you move around, and they've got all those people that they're working with within the crowd. The first person loses their money. They then target someone who thinks they're going to win lots of money. This crime goes back many, many years. It's just very similar now. It's just now we've got technology that's helping them and making this crime continue.
And speeding it up, isn't it? It's just making what we already kind of... No, I completely get the romanticized though, because if you've watched Gentlemen on Netflix...
there you go.
You're even watching that and you like them all, and you're like, he's just shot someone the forest or killed them with a machete, and I'm still there like, oh, well, they're great, and it's like, God, I'm a little bit dark. So I think you're right. We all kind of like the hero in that kind of story that goes through that. So you're highlighted that. So cybersecurity is quite a new thing. You're also not the first person that I've been on a podcast that kind of naturally went into this career. Actually, many people have come from military, police backgrounds. There seems to be some very great skills that you pick up that can be very transferable across the industry. So how then is the AI and the cloning voice, kind of how did that all begin in your journey of your career? Or is that, I'm guessing that's quite recent, but how has it developed since you left?
So yeah, 5 years ago, I decided to leave the police force, but I wanted to stay in this kind of advisory position. I wanted to teach the world about cybercrime and how not to get scammed. And I now work for ESET, who luckily give me this platform that I can go and teach people. I train companies into what to look out for and the latest technology that is available. And when I was at the police, I'd go into the odd company locally and say to them, right, this is why we need to update our passwords. This is the best way of using two-factor authentication. I would actually literally see people falling asleep in front of me while I am trying to tell them something that is relatively basic and, yes, pretty boring. And so I thought, you know what, I need to really ramp this up. And there were a few people that I saw on the scene that were doing very well with doing these actual pen testing, the red teaming, going into companies. I was watching people on TikTok and YouTube doing all these incredible pen testing scams, and they're really exciting to watch. And they were taking away something from what they were watching. And that's what I really wanted to get out of what I was delivering. So I thought to myself, I wonder if I can come up with a story where I've gone into a company, let's say broken in to get the physical aspect to it, and then maybe hacked into a computer. I'd learned how to do it. I thought I'd give it a go, and then go and tell the story. And so I wondered who I could go and speak to. And I asked loads of companies, and they all said, no way, jog on. But I'd just left the police force, and someone I worked with said, wouldn't it be funny if you could get a talk or a blog that would be the title, How to Hack a Police Station? And I went, oh my God, that sounds amazing. I've got to pull this off, but let's give it a go. So I rang the chief of police and I said, hey, I've done 14 years with you guys. Can I ask a favor? And he said, Jake, anything, what do you want? And I said, can I break into one of your police stations and then give you a report? And he said, well, we actually do this. And they do. They get people to test how far they can get into a police force. They might tailgate a car in.
Yeah.
They might put a high-vis jacket on, the classic. And I said, I want to do all that, but I want to see if I can get into someone's account. And he said, do you know what, Jane? You've got a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Do what you want. And I said, yes. And I did it. I broke in. I used a police station where they wouldn't know who I was. I nicked one of the laptops. I got through the BitLocker. I rang up the IT help desk. I pretended to be someone that they'd allow me to be. I chose the head of professional standards. I got through security by giving them some information about who that was. And they had then allowed me to change that person's password. And then I had full access to everything from the PNC to everyone's data, because that person actually has more rights in terms of data than even the chief, because the the professional standards officer is the one that polices the police. So I got all the way through. I made this report and I made that my talk for my first year, and I realized that is where it's so exciting. So moving on a few years, I'm just doing the same kind of thing, but just using AI to help me.
And it's like you said, it's making that thing tangible, isn't it? I think with the cybersecurity, because it's not something that you can hold or you can do unless you're actually impacted, you can understand the repercussions of it. I do feel it's getting a little bit more mainstream where you can see it on TV now. There are TV series, there are more stories of people getting impacted by it. But we're the same, like kind of the ethos of here of like we've always put things on in person and things being hacked or has always had a much bigger impact because you can feel it. And I think it's the same when we go through fire safety training, right? And health and safety training. It's not till the fire actually comes out that you're like, oh God, what was that room that I was meant to go through, and where's the fire extinguisher now? And you actually...
I love that analogy. I might have to steal that one.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I use that one quite a bit.
Put that fire out.
Yeah, or when you do health and safety and you'll learn how to do compressions. But if someone actually had a heart attack, how many of us would actually go, oh, yeah, no, I know what I'm doing? I think it's the same as a cyber attack. You can go on the training and be told not to click on the phishing thing and to change your password. But I don't think you really feel the impact until. And you showed a way to show the impact.
Yeah, you're right. It's that simulation. It's really key. And a lot of companies always want to know what to do next. And I just say, keep doing those simulations. Keep having fun. Don't point the finger at anyone and say, oh, it's because of you we've been hacked. Because we used to do that, People used to click on a phishing email, download an attachment, and then get fired.
Yeah.
We need to be working with those people because it's always going to work if it's targeted enough. And if you look at the stats, about 3% of phishing emails will get through because it just happens to fit their story. But when you target someone, it jumps to about 20% because if I find out something about you that could be on, just on their open platforms, LinkedIn or just Googling them, they can just use that as a little hook. And yet AI is just accelerating that and allowing people to let their guard down at an earlier opportunity.
Yeah. I think that's the thing as well. I think it's very fascinating when I speak to anyone that comes from a police background of how you really do care about the victim. Because like you said, someone has really thought into the detail, has been, they've found the picture or the hook or used a child to manipulate to get into your inbox and to get through to you. And I've said this before on the podcast, if someone was raped or manipulated, you wouldn't then put them on a training course the next day and send an email around or put it on the board that person got attacked. However, when it's an email, that's the old way of doing it, which I've always found, really awful because I always don't think no one does something on purpose. So to, and get themselves into that situation. And like you said, these are criminal. They are sophisticated. And it is gone in the day that it's some teenager stood in a hoodie. They're normally a fully operating business and they want to get your money. So the reason I stumbled more, I have been following you on LinkedIn, but the reason I reached into you was actually the recent story and kind of the theme of the podcast today of your use of AI and creating a CEO's voice. Could you explain kind of the steps and the thought process of that? I mean, did it just come to you one night?
If anyone wants to go and commit that crime themselves.
But how
my step-by-step
guide. That's the next podcast. You can download that for free. But kind of the premise of that, how that story came about, and actually what was the outcome?
Yeah. So last year, I was looking through lots of crimes that were going on that were using technology. And there was this one that I kept being referred to. It was a New Zealand company. The voice had been cloned of a CEO for $250,000. And it just hit me and I thought, wow, would I fall for it? And that's usually the first thing I do is I look at, would anyone get me this way?
Yeah.
And when I start to think, gosh, if they had enough on me and it was coming through, for example, a phone number that I knew and it sounded like someone and the story made sense, there is a chance that I might let my guard down a little bit more or a little bit quicker. I mean, I'm not going to be sending $200,000, but I'm going to let my guard down. I think that therefore means I need to be testing this. I want to see if that's possible. And make my own story. And so I was, and I always am, on the lookout for a new talk. I like to create a new talk each year. I do a lot of conferences and they always want the latest thing. Sometimes it's failed on me and I've done things that don't work. Like I've tried to break into companies and I just get blocked straight away and they just tell me to jog on and they don't make 20 minutes of, it's just me trying to get in and it doesn't work. But I sat back and for a while just thought, I wonder how I can do this. And I started by looking at all the software that's out there that can generate voice clones of yourself or anyone else. And the two that really jumped out at me were 11 Labs and Descript. They're really good, particularly if you're wanting to, say, put your blog into a podcast. So in the future, you could write your blog, put it out there and then think, you know what, let's just top and tail it and add this blog into that software.
Does that mean every blog we write could be in my voice?
100%.
Oh my God.
And guess what? I fooled my mum when I did it. Okay,
no.
So I put it together. I put my voice in. So Descript needs 10 minutes. But 11 Labs needs 30 seconds of your voice. And it's good. really good. And so I used Descript, and I put 10 minutes in of one of my presentations that I'd still got on YouTube. And then you have to wait 24 hours. It does its thing. And then I typed in whatever I wanted. In fact, I did. I took a blog and I put it into it looked like a podcast and sounded like one. I got my mum to listen to it. I thought, I don't know what I sound like, because I don't, well, who likes listening to their own voice?
Yeah.
You might be different being in the world of podcasts, of course. But I thought,
No.
I need to test this. So I got my mum to listen to it. I go, Mum, what do you think of this? And she goes, yeah, it's a bit boring. Thanks, Mum. But
Not loving your content.
yeah, cheers. Yeah. She's like, yeah, whatever. But I said, what do you think of the quality? She's like, yeah, it's pretty good quality. I said, haha, what if I told you it wasn't actually me? She went, well, first of all, she thought I'd used an impressionist. She was like, what are you doing getting an impressionist to sound like you lazy toad? And I was like, no, there's no one that can actually do an impression of me. This is software. And she went, I don't understand. When I told her, she still didn't really get it, because it sounded just like me. And so if it can fool her, then great. I knew I was onto something. And that's when I thought, I need to criminalize this. So
That's when I wanted to be a robber.
Yeah, of course. It always comes back to my love of being a bank robber.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make a little way of being able to target someone and maybe stealing some money. So I chose one of my friends, and I've gone through all my friends.
There's the last one left.
There's one guy. Do you know what? He's not the last one left. This is the second time I've done it to him. A similar thing. He just goes, do what you want. Which is great. Everyone else just keeps their phones away from me and doesn't let me anywhere near their computer. Yeah. So he said, do what you want. And the reason I chose him is he makes these 1-minute videos for his business. And I was able to put it all together. I dropped it into Descript, and I faked the consent video. It's really easy to fake that. It is a little bit harder now. I won't tell people how, but there is a consent that you have to do. But yeah, you can fake that. And then I was able to control his voice and make it say whatever I wanted. Then I thought, right, what can I do with this? I could just say ring up someone that he works with. Bearing in mind, he had said I can do anything, and I always get a piece of paper signed. So I thought, actually, let's go one more than that. So I was waiting for a good opportunity, and his social media said their phone lines weren't working that day in the office. And I thought, okay, they're going to be panicking. If you look at phishing emails, right, they always instill fear or panic. They touch on emotions.
Yeah.
And that's like a really interesting key part to most cyber crimes that are enabled by the internet, and that's a really a powerful like emotion. So when people are panicking, they do things that they shouldn't normally do. And so I thought, this is my time to strike. I go to Descript to create I wanted to make a voice note, a voice message to send to someone, and then the next Instagram story came up saying, David is off to the Isle of Wight on this boat. It had a picture of a lovely sunseeker. He said, don't worry about us, we'll keep the company going. And I thought, amazing. It even said where he was going, the restaurant. So I go to my voice note and I make it say, hi to the finance director. I'm just off to the Hut, which is this restaurant on the Isle of Wight. And I forgot to pay the new floor plan guy. But if I send you the account details in a quick text after this, please can you sort it out? So this is being sent to the finance director. But to send that message, I could have just done it over the phone, but the phone lines are down. I could just send it from a random number to her mobile number, which is on the website.
Yeah.
I thought I want to go one step higher. So I did what's called a SIM swap attack. So I stole his phone number. I won't go through how you go and do that, but it's to do with the service provider.
Oh my God.
You steal their phone number. Once you've stolen someone's phone number, you then install WhatsApp for the first time on that. So I got this spare phone of mine. I've stolen his number. I go to WhatsApp and I say, I'm installing it on a new phone, and it sends you a code to the number. Of course, that came to me. If he had two-factor authentication on his WhatsApp, that wouldn't have worked. So that's a key bit of advice. Make sure you have it. In fact, WhatsApp calls it two-step verification, but turn that on so this won't happen to you. And then I steal his WhatsApp. Now, I can't read his old messages, but I can then send a
Send new
message
ones.
from his WhatsApp to anyone, and it would come up as him in their threads if they've been chatting to him before. So I could just send a message to her, but I decided to send the voice note. So it really did sound like him. So it said, he's off to the hut. Well, I knew he was because it said on social media. So that confirmed where he was.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to pay the new floor pan guy. I'll send you the details in the text. I sent it straight after. I sent the details to my own personal bank account. It said 250 quid. And then I said, I don't know if the guy is called J Moore or H Moore. And the reason I did that is because, people make mistakes. I really wanted to get some engagement between me and her. Mm-hmm. And so, when you type in sort code and account number, in most accounts, if it's wrong with the name, it says, whoa, that's not a match.
Yeah.
And it then tells you what the match should be. Did you mean this? Because we all say our names differently. I'm Jake Moore, but it might say Jacob Moore. It might be Tom or Thomas or whatever, And so I put that in, and she replies, is it J.H. Moore, which is my actual name, J.H. Moore? And I replied going, yes, that's it. Thanks. And she says, done. She sends it. And I went, okay, this is amazing. I jump across to my own personal bank. I look it up, and in there, in my bank account, is 250 quid. And I'm now thinking this is like the greatest scam I've ever pulled off. I could have gone bigger. It really didn't take long. The actual chat between me and her was 16 minutes long. But of course, there's that working out beforehand, getting his voice.
Sure.
But really, it isn't that long in the big scheme of things on this very targeted approach. Mm-hmm. I did then get a phone call from him. And he was like, what the hell have you nicked?
Could he see the WhatsApp then? Could he see the WhatsApp?
No, he can't see anything. Nothing's. All he knows is his WhatsApp's not working. It suddenly
so his
stopped
WhatsApp is down.
It just So now originally he thinks he's just in a not spot because he's on the Isle of Wight. He's not been there much. He just thinks data's not working, and that's the thing. If he'd been on Wi-Fi, his emails would work, but his WhatsApp won't work because I've stolen that. And so he's thinking, okay, this is too much going on. And if you go to your WhatsApp, then I think it says, do you want to agree and continue? It's basically a brand new phone. And he's going, what the hell? And he knows that I've allowed him to, or he's allowed me to do anything I want.
Yeah.
And so he calls me on his client's phone to get me. He's got my number still in his phone. So he rings me up and he says, is this you? And I went, well, I haven't just nicked your phone number. I've nicked your WhatsApp. I've nicked 250 quid. And I've also stolen your voice. And now he's had a couple of beers and he's thinking, what the hell are you actually talking about? Mm-hmm. And I said, this is amazing. I said I wanted to do anything. And you said, yeah, fine. This is what I've been working on. And wham, bam, thanks very much. And he said, all right, fine, whatever. And he said, you can keep the 250 quid as long as you never tell anyone about this story. And I said, I've already sent the money back. This is the greatest thing I've ever done. I'm telling everyone. And so there we are. And I actually went into their company and I talked to them all about security, how I did it. I spoke to the FD and I asked lots of questions. I did no way point the finger at her because I don't want her to feel silly because I think so many people would fall for that.
Yeah. I mean, did you play the voice note and ask how many people would have fallen for it?
Yeah. Do you know what? I've played it to my friend. He even thought it was him. That was my favourite quote he's ever said. He was like, whoa, even I think that is me. And that's amazing to know that you can do this. And it's just getting better and better. This is last year. I always call last year like phase 1 because what I'm seeing now, it's just getting better and better. And, the story of the $25 million being stolen because of a live Zoom call with fake cloned people, which I've been testing myself only in the last couple of months. We're now in phase 2 and it is mind-blowing.
Right. So there's lots to unpack now. First of all, I'm panicking that my voice is readily available everywhere. Yeah. And also I'm in marketing, so we overshare where we are all the time, what we're doing, what event we're at, where we're, so like there's kind of two things on that of the oversharing and the digitalization, do we need to, there would have been things around it if he hadn't overshared, if they hadn't put so much stuff publicly on social media. That's kind of one side of the coin on that, of whether we need to. And then also, you say about the 2FA, does there need to be kind of like a 2FA when it comes to getting something that's a voice? No, like there's a procedure as a company, because that's the big thing we were having this conversation the other day, like actually the more AI comes about, the only thing that it can't be is a human being, right? So if the pattern that the AI doesn't know, or that, I don't know, maybe your friend wouldn't do that, like he wouldn't do that, or he would never ask her to do that, or if he would normally do that the other way, he would confirm it was her, would he send an emoji with a certain thing? Like if there was a pact between the two of them, she would have, because how do you stop that? Because we're trusting, aren't we, as human beings?
Yeah. Well, that's a great word in itself, trusting. So what this really comes down to is procedures, policies. Don't cut corners ever. Okay. I asked her what made her do it and how much could I've gone to, and she was like, I don't know, maybe 10 grand or so. That, and she kept going back to, it's typical him. She referred to the policy that they have in their business. If who you're sending money to is not on this spreadsheet, do not. If one of these companies comes to you, we've changed our bank details. No, we're not doing it. This is typical medium and small size business. We do not go and change our contact details, our bank details. It's even on the footer of a lot of emails, particularly solicitors. They will never change their bank details. Yeah. However, she confirmed it was him in her head because it came from his WhatsApp. It was his voice. It did say where he was, and she knew where he was. He only bloody said it 2 hours ago. And then she kept coming back saying it's a typical him to do. He forgot to pay someone. That's something that some of us just will be conned by. And that's what's so clever in this. But how do we go and stop that trust? Well, it's difficult because we want to trust people, and it's difficult, especially to a boss. Anyone of rank. And if you look into phishing emails, that's actually one of the influencers that is used. There's a great book called The 6 Principles of Influence, and one of them is rank. And so effectively, if you look at, let's say, police forces in the army, if anyone's above you, you do what they say. And so in the business place, when the boss says, I need this done, it's really hard, especially someone who's just started maybe, to say no. The typical scam that I see a lot is when someone's just started at a company, they get an email from the boss and it says, you've got to go and buy a load of Apple cards. 97% of us will go, I don't like this, maybe go to the line manager. Some people might just go, well, yeah, I've got to do that. And of course, they find it out because it's on your LinkedIn on your first day where you're starting. Scammer finds that out, spoofs the email address, and bosh, they're getting a load of Apple cards bought for them and the IDs on the back sent to them. And this is the power of that influence. And in this case, it is rank. Now, if we were to start using code words, or in your case, I love the idea of an emoji. I've not thought of that one. I love that. That's something that can be implemented, but I think that's only really short term. Maybe something right now to be talking about. We've got to look at a better solution. I haven't really got that solution yet. I always say validate to the nth degree. No one's going to really mind when you're saying, I'm looking out for the finances of this business. And they're going to think, well done. But you might be working in that department which is doing loads of transactions a day. You're like, just shut up and get on with it. And so after a while, there's actually a scam just like that. I can't remember what they call it, but they just send loads and loads of requests to a phone, and in the end you just go, I'm just going to hit accept because they're really bugging me. Like the overloading of it's usually
isn't it like a 2FA thing as well? They get overloaded, and then you're like, oh screw, I'm just going to let you in, and then that's it.
That's happened recently. And imagine that in real life. Was that definitely you? So yes, just bloody do it. Okay, sorry, Sue.
Especially the voice note comes back saying that, right?
Exactly. And that is just another way we let our guard down. Scamming people's voices, it's easy, and so it's another tool in the toolkit.
Oh, okay. So difficult knowing how to mitigate this because this is going to be a whole new thing. Obviously, my emoji idea is probably just a patch over that. Do you think there's going to be some sort of legislation or legal framework or something that comes around? Like, how do we protect our voice then? Because, like I said, I've got 2 years of my voice now on the internet from the podcast. So maybe, you know, that's out there. We all put everything on us on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all
yeah.
concerned about pictures and children's pictures being changed and how AI can change that and morph. You know, celebrities have been in things like that haven't been fake. So, now, like, we've got a generation below us that are oversharers. Is it going to flip full circle? What do you think?
This is a great point. So regulations are always 3 years behind. If you look at things like, I saw the birth of cryptocurrencies. I was banging that drum in the police station, going up through the ranks, right up to MP level to say, we need to sort this out. I was part of a big thing trying to shake that tree, and it was just too late. And now, the cat was out the bag anyway, but it's cryptocurrencies. It's very difficult to police and legislate. They've got to a certain level with it. Now, the same thing with AI. They're trying to put regulations in place. Very difficult, though, because you're saying, right, you can't do this with a voice, but a criminal is just going to be able to find your voice and they're not going to care. They've got their bespoke AI engine they can go and do what they want with. So particularly yourself, 2 years of your voice on the internet, I would personally speak to all those loved ones that would probably do something for you should you ask them to. To be ultra aware. I tell my mum and dad regularly, if you ever get a hello mum from me, from a random number, it's not me. Even if it sounds like me and I'm asking for just £50, it's not me. Call me, call me, call me. I'm constantly saying to them, and they know that is what you're meant to do.
Do you
that's
think,
what I would say to anyone.
It's like, when I think about it, like, I'm really a nobody. Do you think the nobodies are kind of still the targets, though? You know, where everyone assumes that people attack the big whales, like the apples and the big
It always
things.
starts with the whales.
Yeah, so you think the whales first and then it's going to become, you know, like, it seems mad to go after my mum and dad because, like, what they're going to get, maybe they might give you 50 quid for me, but I don't know. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just like, do I really need to worry about little old me? But I guess. Yeah,
everyone should start now. And so, especially about oversharing. So you mentioned that. And I do a lot of work around privacy. That does come back to oversharing. I've spoken to victims of identity fraud that cannot get a mortgage. And so they're turning of an age where they really now finally wanting to buy their house. You know, amazing. What an opportunity. This is a wonderful time in their life. They're about to have their own house. And suddenly the bank goes, just a minute. We've got something here that's pretty dodgy and you haven't paid that phone bill for the past 3 years because someone stolen your identity and bought a mobile phone in your name. And this happens a lot. There's one mobile phone operator that allows you to purchase a phone in someone else's name with the limited, minimal amount of information. And they are struggling to patch that up. And so data is a currency. I'm sure you're well aware. It's on the dark web. It's a massive jigsaw of putting these pieces together. And a criminal could just look at that and go, well, hey, this is amazing. A field day. So, of course, you're going to pick out the whales, right? The ones that the C-suite level, the politicians, the people of the high rank, high profile. Let's get some serious bucks out of these people. But it does then filter down to, right, who's the next low-hanging fruit? And low-hanging fruit, if you're going to be doing voice cloning, podcasters, well, hey, amazing. Let's have a look at what we've got here. And it's the side, like lateral crimes as well. It's not just going to the parents. It's what they can do within a business as well. And it's just another tool again, coming back to the original crimes. It's just adding to it. And then it filters right down. And we're now seeing apps that you can put one image of your mates in to an app. And it comes back singing or dancing, head moving from one image. And once it becomes an app, you realise, well, we have seriously moved quickly in this. And if we're calling this, just the end of phase 1, maybe the start of phase 2, with different versions of ChatGPT, image creation and video cloning all now here, it's just about to explode on a massive scale, and we need people to be aware of it. And unfortunately, they're not aware of the oversharing, of which I don't actually think should be squashed because we do live on the internet. We just need to be
Yeah.
aware of it.
Yeah. And then, so that's not going to change. We're still going to live on the internet. We're still going to overshare. Do you think there's going to become, I don't know, like we default have secure, like we have a front door key. We do like security things that we wouldn't even not think of. We take insurances out for our house. We have fire alarms in our home. There are set doors and things that you should have, and we've put things into place, unfortunately, because history, you can't buy a pram unless it's got certain regulations. You can't put your kid in a car seat in a certain way. Think how much that's evolved since our parents probably were driven around in their cars. Do you think that there will come a set of toolkit that goes around your safety on the metaverse, on your like, how do you police all that?
I don't think we've worked it out yet.
Right.
Everything they are looking at that could potentially, I don't know, let's look at the politicians are trying to watermark their videos. But of course, hey, as a criminal, I'm just going to go and watermark this fake clone video of Sadiq Khan or whoever. And so we haven't found that yet. To try and prove that it is someone's voice or it is their face, it's so difficult because the likeness can be copied. We are looking at, say, video being used as a authenticator on apps, and banks are using it. And they'll go bespoke into your camera, and you have to move it around so it is 3D, for example. And that's a very good way of using tech to prove it is you. So I've been able to use in real time face cloning software in Zoom calls. Okay, so I could choose one of your, I don't know, a family member of yours, their face, and get their voice and use it in a virtual camera to have a conversation with you across Zoom or Teams. And the quality, it's not that bad, but it kind of plays in its hand. If it's not good, it doesn't matter. We just say you're in a terrible reception area. And you only need to be on that call for the first, say, 30 seconds to prove it is you. And then you just flip to the voice, because you can say, I'm going to turn my video off. The connection's not that great where I am. And so it comes back to verifying somehow, but just not conducting a transaction because you've just seen them over there. There would have to be other forms of verifying who that person is. Now, I don't deal with huge transactions. The only one I've ever really done is when I sent money to my solicitor buying a house, and I absolutely bricked myself. Actually, going through that.
I did it when we did that. We moved house in January. When it goes and you're like, and I think I checked the account numbers over and over and over again. And I was on the phone call to them like, is it through? 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 And they were like, no, it's not through.
I sent them no, do you know what? So it cost me more, but I sent them a very low amount, like £1.39.
Yeah, we did. Right? I did the same.
But they wouldn't allow it. They were like, no, we only accept this one. And I said, I'm doing it. What's the fine? And they said, there'll be a 30 quid fine because you do this. And I went, I'll take it.
I did the same. I had to pay for an admin fee, and I was like, sure, I'll do it rather than losing all my deposit.
I'd lose my job if I got busted doing that, wouldn't I?
That's true. that would be a very different story. The only thing when you were talking through this, catfishing and dating.
Yeah.
How on earth are people going to validate? Like, that's going to be that TV program will come back because it used to be, they could Photoshop themselves in places and steal other people's, imagery. If I can now make videos and call you sounding like a person that they think they could be dating.
Yeah, that's already there.
That's just mind blowing, isn't it? Like, someone could be dating someone, think they're dating a celebrity even. Like, there could be some out there thinking they're dating Margot Robbie. And they would have no idea.
No.
I know. Well, everyone could be dating her. How amazing.
This is it. But it's verification. Catfishing has been around a long time before AI. In the form of real people. I remember speaking to a victim when I was in the police and cybercrime team, and this guy had been speaking with this real lady for, I don't know, 6 months.
Yeah.
And every time they were going to meet, there was another problem.
Yep.
And you know what? This is the sad thing, right? And I love this guy because he was like, after about 3 months, I kind of knew it was a bit weird. And I was like, well, why didn't you get out of it? And he said, I don't know. There was always that little inkling that it might be real, and I quite liked her. And they were having video chats every night. You know, that investment is massive from a criminal or a criminal gang. Okay, and she was genuine. I don't think I'd not seen videos of this quality that were fake back then, even like Tom Cruise days. So we've been seeing catfishing for a long time. The same response comes back. Meet them as soon as you possibly can. Get them in real life. Never send money, ever. However big or incredibly impressive their story is, or even if you are just about to meet them and you feel a little bit like you really like this person, but you're just going to send them money because they can't afford the train to get down. Sorry, but I'm just not going to send you any money, even if it's half. And that was it for this guy that I was dealing with. He lived in London, but the perpetrator was saying they were from Scotland, and so it was always going to be a train ride. And there was a reason why he couldn't go up to her. She was coming up with impressive stories why she wouldn't come down. And so we've got to look at each individual story. But anyway, I'm hearing some tough stories about online dating anyway. Maybe it's going back the other way. People are starting to use other methods again. So, hey, we'll see. But yeah, validate, always.
So we can talk about dating and, £250 been taken. We also know statistically that most younger generation take things like TikTok as real news. How is the AI and video going to impact things like political views, propaganda, war, no war? How do you validate on TikTok that something's true or wasn't told? There could be a celebrity that's cloned. We have seen impact of famous people, Donald Trump, and the impact of someone saying something online and what that can do. How do you safeguard your children from realizing that that could not be who you think your hero, that might not be your hero saying that thing,
Yeah, this is a massive pool. Okay, so misinformation and disinformation are big problems. So misinformation being information that has been misunderstood and it's being shared about something, disinformation being something that is being shared on purpose to cause disruption
and we've seen that in policing, issues. Right? In people going missing and people making assumptions.
Oh my gosh, everyone wants to be a detective. So the power of TikTok, which I don't think TikTok's terrible. I think it's got an incredible position to shout from a very impressive platform. It does know us a lot. It's very difficult to change that algorithm, by the way. But it's to teach people that some things can really be faked from an early age. I talk to my kids, right? They are 8 and 11. I talk to them a lot about AI.
Okay.
I show them videos of me that I've created that are fake. And I go, what do you think of this? And my kids can't tell the difference. Weirdly, my wife can. She always goes, that's the fake one. It's amazing that she can do it. But my kids, they're going, no, well, that it looks like, it sounds like you. And I go, no, look, stuff can be fake. Okay, and I then get a fun little game. I can say, right, tell me what to say. And they'll tell me to say something really silly. Like, I love jumping in puddles or something, I don't know. Yeah. Or usually cruder. My 8-year-old boy loves...
Anything to do with poo is mine.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's right. So, I can type that in and go, look, this is me saying it. And they're like, oh, wow, this really does prove that they're controlling my AI. Yeah. And being able to do that, I'm really trying to instill in them, don't always believe everything. It made my daughter at an earlier age work out things that I didn't realise she'd start questioning. The Tooth Fairy, Father Christmas, at a very early age. Because, of course, I've been teaching her about misinformation since she was about 6. And so she was like, just a minute.
Oh, my daughter's there too already. And it's such a parenting moral thing for me right now.
Yeah.
Because she'll go, but you wouldn't lie to me, would you? And it's like...
yeah, this is it.
Oh, no, but I don't want to kill the magic.
Yeah, well,
There
there's
is
a new
something
wave of
so
parenting.
magical about Father Christmas, and once that's
Yeah.
gone, Christmas isn't the same. However, and it's also the other conversations that, she'll go to me and she was like, oh, well, I can 100% trust my teacher. It's my teacher. And I can 100% trust a police officer. Whatever a police officer tells me to do, I should do it, mummy. And it's like, oh, gosh, you should.
Well, that takes years
you should,
to
but
really
there's
understand. Yeah.
there's also not like and it's all these things, and she'll say something very innocently and beautiful of, if a teacher tells me to go into a cupboard with me or something, that's okay, isn't it, mummy? And you're like, scenario, what's oversharing? Do I scare her? I mean, for me, when I was a kid, I think it was the weird portrait thing, and people would go and paint you, and you could give sweets. You give sweets to your mummy. I just remember this thing at primary school saying, if someone offered to paint you for your mummy, don't go and don't take sweets.
Wow.
Now it's like, well, it's not just stranger danger and get into the car. It's like your mum could be your own friend. Like, I got my son on those little rucksacks, with their name on. So it was so super cute. Then had someone on the podcast and gone, yeah, you've told everyone what his name is.
Yeah.
I was like, but like, it's cute, and it's got a little tiger coming out of it. Like, do you know what I mean? I thought it was really sweet, but and I did a podcast 2 years ago, and I think it was my son's first birthday, and he went, cool, did you share it on Facebook? I was like, yeah, I did. And he was like, oh, did you put the picture of the first present that he got and what pet he is and what road you're on? And I was like, well, yeah. And, did you say what friends went there and what his first school friends were? And did Auntie Jane buy him X? And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, so his passwords then? You put it publicly? And I was like, oh, God. Like, everything I've done, you think is really sweet. And then someone tells you, you think, put a tag on your kid, because then you know where they are. And then I had another podcast where like, they can hack them and find them.
It's very true. And
what's the right thing to do?
It's teaching people that, there's a new way of parenting, I think, is to really undershare, because they're realizing that they haven't got permission of their kids to post their faces. And if you're able to use technology that can see a child's face at 4 years old and work out what they're going to look like when they're 20, that's very scary. And so, we're seeing a lot of emojis being chucked on kids' faces now, or just not sharing images of their kids on social media. But we've got a generation above us that are sharing so much on Facebook and the likes, and not using the privacy settings correctly, not understanding them. I think everyone, if they are on Instagram, should have a private account. Absolutely everyone. Yeah, and they should be looking through who their followers are.
But then you have that generation that want to be an influencer.
Well, have two accounts then, right?
Right.
You don't share information that is private on your influencer account. Leave that to the friends.
Okay, but if you're an influencer and your life and your child and your products come through every stage of your life, which you see, they start off, how does someone become a product and a brand and have that different from their family? Because you can see it celebrities, right? Some share their kids and some don't even have them anywhere near in the limelight, and allow that, some of us would probably Google, wouldn't even know what their kids look like. So it's still a grey area, isn't it?
It really is. And, 10 years ago, I would have thought, who cares if someone sees a picture of my 2-year-old? But now I'm thinking, the technology is so there, and to go back and to find that image and increase the age of that, say, 2-year-old to now be 12 or 22 or whatever, and make it look impressive. I know there's AI out there to just generate an image. In fact, I use a lovely website called thispersondoesnotexist.com.
Yeah, we used to use that too.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And I create fake LinkedIn accounts sometimes, and I use images off there for those images, because I don't want to be using anyone that's actually real. Also for reverse image searching, it's not going to point somewhere else. It just looks like it's a brand new one. But that same technology can be used very easily on children, and that's where it starts to get a little dangerous. And maybe those people that are oversharing don't really understand it, or they are just trying to bury their head in the sand. And I find that a lot with companies, when they don't really understand the securities around it. Heads back in the sand. You know what? I'll just carry on as we are because, we like where we are. And you know what? Companies only really start putting better securities in place once they've been attacked.
Yeah, once they've been breached,
And that is the same across the board, whether it's your own personal data or whether it's a massive company. You get that feeling in your stomach, you put your hand up and say, all right, let's get some better security.
But isn't that in life, though? Doesn't the worst thing have to happen for things to be put into... Like, you can think of some of the biggest tragedies in history. Presidents being shot, they will now not be in a car that's open top. It wouldn't be... You wouldn't even hear of it. Like, you know, to think you could smoke on a plane. Could you imagine that now? Like, it's like the worst thing has to happen for us human beings to go, oh, okay, now I should put that in
time and time
place.
again, we are hearing about these things and people are still going, well... And
but it's not going to happen to me, isn't it? That's always,
right.
well, is it going to happen to me? Even I just asked you, well, like, surely someone's not going to bring up my parents because I'm not very important. Like, I think it's a human being thing, isn't it? That we assume it's not going to happen to us.
That's so
or
true.
we like to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Human beings like to stay in their comfort zone. Naturally.
Always. And until it does happen to them, then I think we're still going to be banging on about it.
And that's why your talks are so important, because you make something that seems completely unrelatable to us tangible.
Hopefully, if I can show them what I'm able to do, they will hopefully go away and think, interesting. And if they just change one thing, if one person changes one thing in their life, then I feel like I'm just turning that wheel the right way.
I like that. We're trying to make the same change for cybersecurity as people are with global warming, right?
Yeah.
We can just do their little part. It's going to make us a little bit more secure. Jake, I think I could talk to you for hours, and the AI thing's fascinating, but I appreciate you have a job to do, and more people to talk to and spread your message to. If anyone wanted to reach out to you, have you as a speaker, engage with you more in your company, what's the best way to contact you?
So I'm Jake Moore on my LinkedIn and Jake Moore UK on X.
Great website, by the way. Jumping shots, pretty cool.
Oh, my website, jakemore.uk. Yeah, I thought, hey, why not just do some jumping around?
Why not just jump? Yeah, that's great. We have a closing tradition on the podcast. If anyone listening, why would you encourage them to get involved in the world of cybersecurity in the industry? Maybe they're already in or considering it, or maybe they're a student right now and thinking it could be a bit of them. Why would you encourage someone to join us?
Well, I'll tell you why I do it. Because I get to commit crime ethically and get away with it. And it's a lot of fun.
You get to be the bad guy.
Finally.
Perfect. Thank you, Jake, so much. And I do hope our paths will cross in person, and that maybe you could be on after next year. What are you going to do next year?
Great. What am I doing next year? Well, I'm just working on at the moment this real time Zoom call stuff.
What's the next
It's
attack?
brilliant.
I love it.
Well, a little teaser. I've been offered the permission to clone the video, face clone everything about him through his LinkedIn, push out a video and get people to go and sponsor him.
Is it the same CEO? The mate that you stole
No,
from?
this is someone else. I finally found someone else that would be up for it. And it's so much fun. It's so
Do you know
funny.
what we could do as a
can't
fun promo for this? You could make out that I've spoken to celebrities on the podcast and see how many people fall for it, that I've had Rihanna in or something. I really want to clone Stephen. If you could do this for me. So I'm a big fan of Stephen Bartlett. Really like his podcast, right? But in his book, if anyone has read it, he actually had a massive cyber attack and nearly lost his first business because of it, because someone pretended to be his co-founder and slagged off all their investors and sent emails. Wow. And he lost it for twofold. One, he slagged off his investors, wasn't great. And the other one was the fact that they had been hacked. And then their clients were a bit like, well, you have been hacked and you do. So he nearly lost it on both sides, but he survived it. But I can never get his attention. However, if we could do an AI version looking like he had been on the podcast, would we get his attention?
Oh, we'll get legal to agree it and then it's all right.
Oh, is that what we have to do? Otherwise we break the law?
Probably. Always get their permission, kids.
Okay. Stephen Bartlett, if you're listening, we would like your permission that looks like that you've been on our podcast.
Yeah.
We'll put it out
there. You know
there.
what? My last talk, I finished it with Morgan Freeman, because my friend actually said, when you go and tell everyone about this, they're going to hear this voice and they're not going to know it's actually my voice. And I went, good point. And he goes, what you want to do is finish it with Morgan Freeman. So I made a clone of Morgan saying, and that was Jake Moore, what a thoroughly nice guy he is too. And that's how I finished my talk.
Smart.
Because everyone knows his voice and it's proving that you really can do it. So I thought that was all right.
Do you know what the mad thing has just come into my head? It could mean that films could have people in them for generations and generations, even if they're not still alive.
This is why Hollywood are striking a lot at the moment, and did last year,
madness, isn't
because
it?
they're worried that even dead celebrities like Robin Williams
could come back.
will continue forever. Yeah.
I mean, it's so many weird things. Like, we could live forever. I kind of like that, but also it's kind of weird. And like, it's your IP, isn't it? It's your voice. So much to unpack. That's a whole other episode. We're gonna have to do
all there, and it's all coming. Like I say, we're at the early phases of this.
We're going to do a podcast tour, aren't we, of AI and the implications of this? But it's very exciting. Thank you, Jake. Hopefully, speak to you very soon.
It's been great.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Core Podcast. That was a fun one and a pure accident, because I only really reached out to Jake this week, and he's so kindly obliged to popping on, especially as it's all blowing up under his new article all about AI cloning and how he stole that £250 from a friend. He's a really good friend, I have to be honest. I think you'd be really nervous to have a dinner party or agree to do anything with him, and make sure you don't sign anything that he asks you to sign. But I think it opens a really important topic of AI. It's such a fantastic tool, and I know even in the marketing department we're using it more and more, but where does it lie? How will we protect it? How do we protect IP? How do I protect my voice? How do I make sure videos aren't used that aren't me? How do I make sure that my voice then doesn't become something that could victimize someone that I really care about, my children in the future, my parents? So I think it's a topic that will be running for a very long time. AI is not going anywhere, and it's definitely going to open new gateways into cybersecurity. And, you know, we're at the forefront of it. So let's see, and let's make sure we can get much more people on the podcast to support us as this evolution of AI impacts us all. As AI voice cloning technology continues to advance, the threat it poses to corporate security cannot be ignored. By understanding the risks involved and implementing robust security measures, organisations can mitigate the potential impact of such attacks. However, it is imperative that we also address the ethical considerations surrounding the use of this technology and work towards establishing a framework that promotes responsible innovation while protecting privacy and security.
This episode of the Core Podcast featured an AI-generated clip of Kelly Allen, with explicit consent from Kelly. The story you heard at the start of today's show was an excerpt from an article by Charles Bethier for The New Yorker. The names of those involved have been changed at their request. Thanks for listening.